Hey friends, Kristin here. Welcome back to the Healthy Balanced Mama podcast. I recently asked the ladies in the Supermama Society, my online group coaching program, what they felt like they needed extra support on when it comes to this season of COVID-19, quarantine, physical distancing, and kind of being in a weird situation in this new time in our lives that none of us have ever experienced. There's a lot of stress and anxiety that can come along with that, and also a lot of new and maybe old stresses and anxieties that we may have had over food and our bodies and might have gone dormant for a while, but might be popping back up when we have the stress of all of the other things that are going on in the world, changing jobs and shifting schedules with our kids. So the thing that they told me that they needed the most support on was movement and not being able to move as much as they did before. So I thought that I would record them a little bonus audio because in the Supermama Society, they get weekly audio lessons as well as our monthly masterclass and workbooks to work through. But I thought that this would be a really great topic to just provide them with a little bit of bonus support. And I loved it so much, and I thought it was applicable to everyone more than just the moms in my coaching program, that I thought I would also make it available to you as a bonus episode. So I hope you'll enjoy my thoughts, mostly unscripted, kind of like my last bonus episode on COVID, about movement and how to navigate not moving as much during this time of social distancing. So I hope you find this helpful. And if you do find these episodes helpful, if you can do me a huge favor and go and give me a 5-star rating and review over on iTunes, I would be so grateful. It helps more women see and hear the podcast who need to hear this information on living a healthy, balanced life. Okay, friends, let's dig into the episode. Living a healthy, balanced life as a mom can sometimes feel impossible. With tiny mouths to feed, butts to wipe, and so many things vying for our attention, it can be easy to feel like we're in an on-again, off-again relationship with healthy living. But it doesn't have to feel this way. I believe every mom is a supermom, and you deserve to feel like one too, and you don't have to go on another diet to do it. Join me, Kristin Dovbniak, holistic nutritionist and certified intuitive eating counselor, for conversations on what it means to live a healthy, balanced life. I want to help you uncomplicate eating, improve your relationship with food, and live like the supermama I know you are. Hey friends, Kristin here. I hope you're all holding up well in what is now at least a couple weeks in, if not longer, for many of you in this time of either quarantine or physical distancing from the people in our lives. I know this is a really unique time in history that none of us have ever experienced anything like this before, and we're all doing our best to navigate it in the best way possible. And I know that through navigating it and through trying to, deal with things in our family in our own ways, this can also be a time where extra anxieties come up about some things that might have already been there or things that might be cropping up that haven't been anxieties in some time for us, but now that we are thrown into this new situation, can start to feel like they are more of an issue for us again. And one of those areas that I've heard of a lot from the women in my community, the women in the Supermama Society, and the women that I coach one-on-one, is worries about not being able to move as much during this time where we're stuck at home. I know where I am in New England, it is only starting to get nice enough to be able to even go for a little walk around the neighborhood. I know it's been really rainy and dreary around here, so moving outside has been far and few between, and moving at home with 2 kids is really hard too. So that in and of itself is difficult, let alone the anxiety of worrying about your weight changing or your health changing while you're in this time where you're out of your routine, where the gyms are closed and you might not be able to move in the same way that you were in the past. So this is something that I wanted to address with you today. I wanted to tackle it head on and just take some time to calm some of those fears that might be coming up around not moving as much as usual. Because I know that you care about your health. You care about keeping your body fit and healthy and strong, but ultimately it does look different in this season. Unless you have a beautiful home gym with all of the amenities, then it's going to look different than it did before. And whether or not you had a difficult relationship with exercise before we went into quarantine or social distancing, it's totally normal that you might be a little bit anxious around this, because what we are often told, in society, just by our culture, is that movement is one of the end-all be-alls to be our healthiest selves. And we know that movement is so important for us and our overall health. And I want to encourage you to find ways to move that are joyful, because it is a really important part of our health and our wellness, both physically and mentally. But things are going to be different in this season. But just because they're different in this season doesn't mean we can't still honor our bodies. And just because we are not moving as much doesn't mean our bodies won't still be fit and strong and healthy when we come out of this. So here is where I want to begin by encouraging you. First and foremost, I want you to take this time as a really important opportunity to take a look at your relationship with exercise and movement. If you are anxious about the fact that you are not moving as much as you did in the past, or that you won't be able to move as much as you did in the past, and you feel like this is a should, like you have to exercise or else, I want you to explore this. Why is this feeling coming up? Why is this should coming up? Why do we feel like we should exercise or else something will happen to our health or our weight or our bodies? Because there are always going to be things that come up in our lives. Hopefully not, frequent global pandemics, but there are going to be times where we have an injury or we have a baby or life is just busy and we don't get in those workouts. And if we have gotten into a routine where working out is something that we have to do for our physical health or for our mental health, or else we won't be okay, this is a really important time to take a step back and ask yourself why you're putting so much weight on exercise to be all of those things for you. Because exercise is important. It's good for us. Moving our bodies is essential to a healthy life, but it's not the end all be all. So I want you to explore those feelings. Why are you putting shoulds on this? Why are you feeling this? And if you are putting pressure on yourself to make workouts work, even if it might not be working in your days, even if it's causing you more stress, and I'll get to that in a second, why are you putting this pressure on yourself? Where do the fears lie? Because once we can begin to uncover the fears, maybe it's a fear of what's going to happen to your body. Maybe it's a fear of what's going to happen to your health. Maybe it's a fear of what's going to happen to your identity or your routines when you're not moving in the way that you did before. Because again, movement is important, but just like with food, it's not everything. So putting that pressure on ourselves can be really detrimental to our overall health and well-being, because our bodies are so incredibly resilient. Our bodies will be perfectly fine if we don't move for a few days, a few weeks, even a few months. As long as we are moving our bodies throughout the day, we're not just lying in bed all day, then we don't need to feel the burden or the pressure of moving in the same way that we did before, because our lives don't look that way anymore. Our lives are much more challenging in many ways than they were before COVID happened. And this in and of itself should be the best reason to give yourself some grace in in this season, because stressing out or forcing ourselves to exercise or move our bodies when we are already stressed out is no good for our health either, especially during a time that's already stressful and already anxiety provoking. And for many of us, we have more on our plates than we did before when it comes to distance learning, homeschooling, trying to get work done at home while, keeping younger kids safe and healthy, keeping our house together, balancing all that with our spouse. There's a lot going on. So first and foremost, I want to give you permission to rest as much as you need during this time and always. Because it can feel like a lot of pressure to get the exercise in, to get that movement in, because we know it's good for our bodies. But sometimes what our body needs the most is more rest or lighter movement, walks with the family when the sun is shining, or walks by yourself with a podcast or some music that's going to calm your body down. Maybe you need some light stretching. Maybe you just want to throw the frisbee around in the backyard with the kids. Just because you're not in the same routine as you were before doesn't mean you can't still honor your body. So I encourage you to give yourself grace that sometimes the exercise that you planned or the exercises that you did before just aren't going to happen now. And that's okay. Your body is incredibly resilient. A couple weeks or even a couple of months that look different than they did before will not make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things when it comes to our fitness, our health, or even our weight. And I'll get to that in a minute. So I want you to remember that this is temporary. You will get back into your routines later on, but I encourage you to take this time and pause and ask yourself if you are feeling like you have to exercise. Take that time to explore this and remember that there are so many aspects to our health. Exercise is just one of them, just like food is only one aspect of our health. Things like our stress levels, our sleep, taking time to be with other people and connect with other people even when we are physically distanced. All of these things are important contributors to our health. Taking care of ourselves, exercise, and food are just two small parts of the equation. And in the same vein, I want to address the fear of gaining weight when you're not moving as much, because this is one of the biggest fears I've heard about, and this is so normal that you would feel this feeling, and I want to validate that, but also calm some of that for you. Because your body does not stop working just because you're in quarantine. Just because, I've been talking about, your routine has changed doesn't mean your body has stopped working. Your body has incredible, powerful, intricate systems that work together to keep you well. And this includes working towards homeostasis, balance in your body. Our bodies crave balance. Our bodies don't have a desire to constantly gain weight. Our bodies have powerful physiological mechanisms that will signal that your body needs less energy when you are expending less energy. So if you are moving less, your body will signal that your body needs less energy. And this comes out in our hunger signals and other ways that allow your body to maintain that homeostasis. Our bodies fight to stay in that set point range that is best for our bodies. So the idea that moving less means we'll automatically gain weight is ignoring the fact that our bodies have these powerful physiological mechanisms to adjust for these situations. These systems are innate. It's not our job to force our bodies into eating less because we're moving less. Our body isn't a math equation that we're supposed to solve. Ultimately, it's not our job to decide what our bodies need. It's our body's job to decide and tell us what we need, and our job to respond. So there is so much more to the picture of our weight and our body size other than just the food that we eat or the way that we move. Our weight and our body size are determined by genetics, that set point range, the place that our body fights to stay in, that space that is normal and natural and safe for her. Things like stress levels, sleep, anxiety, worry about gaining weight, not taking time for ourselves or taking care of ourselves, self-care time, getting time alone during the busyness and the stress of this new season, or even forcing ourselves to work out when we're already tired or already overworked. All of these can impact our body weight and our health overall. Stress has just as much of an impact on our overall health and our body size, if not more, than the food we eat or the way we move. So I want to encourage you that there are so many different factors coming into play here. So if you do want to move, that is totally okay. If you want to move, I want to provide you with a couple of questions to ask yourself to determine what might fit in this season. Because ultimately, this is a season of our lives. This is temporary. It is not going to last forever. We don't know how long it's going to last, when the gym's going to open again, when it's going to be nice enough to get outside for a walk or a jog or whatever feels good to you. But we can do the job of taking care of our bodies by listening to what our bodies want and responding in the best way we know how. So the first question I encourage you to ask yourself when you're deciding if you would like to move is, what sounds good to me right now? And I want to remind you that we are in a different season. So what sounds good to you right now might be different than what sounded good to you before quarantine. Remember to take into consideration that you might be more stressed or overworked or tired just emotionally by all of the things going on in our world. So if lighter movement and lighter exercise sounds good to you and those HIIT workouts or a long run doesn't sound right for you right now, that's okay. Lean into what your body is telling you. So first and foremost, ask yourself what sounds good. The second thing you can ask is this a should, or is this what my body is feeling? So that's coming back to that relationship with exercise. Is what you think sounds good because it's what you think you should do, or is it because what your body is truly feeling in terms of how your body wants to move? So just continually come back to that relationship with exercise, because if you're turning it into a should, if you're turning it into a must, then it's not going to be joyful, and it is going to be a struggle and a pressure, and then you're adding that stress onto your body again, which we already know isn't going to be good for our health and certainly not going to be good for keeping ourselves in a place that's balanced during this quarantine. So the first question, what sounds good? And the second question, is this a should, or is this a feeling that I have? The third thing I encourage you to ask yourself is, what kind of equipment or what kind of resources are available to me? This is the time to explore some options that you can do from home. If it is nice enough where you are, you could go for a walk or a jog outside if that sounds good to you, or do some yoga on the lawn. But I encourage you to explore some new options. If you're normally a gym girl and you're not able to go to the gym or have access to that type of equipment or those weights, what else would give you that same feeling that you crave from exercise, that feeling of strength and empowerment outside of body size? But how do you want to feel? What sounds good? And what equipment do you have or resources do you have that can help provide you with those positive feelings, movement that your body is craving? There are so many resources out there for workouts that you could do at home. There are things like online workout programs. I know the Peloton app, which I love, is still doing a free 90-day trial. There are a lot of local fitness studios that are doing classes that are either paid or free on their Facebook page or on their website. There's YouTube videos. I love Yoga with Adrienne. She's really great on YouTube. I encourage you to, follow people who are body positive and who are going to encourage you throughout the workout and not berate you for not going harder or only focus on body size. I know Simi Bodic, who is a fellow coach, she is incredible. She just released a bar membership called Unmeasured that focuses on body positive movement for women. So that's a really great option there too. So you can get in movement if your body is craving that with the equipment that you have at home, whether that is your own body weight or a chair in the case of bar bar workouts, some light weights, or absolutely nothing at all, you're just going to go for a walk or a jog outside, I want to encourage you to lean in to what feels good for you and do what you can. Remembering that it's okay if you don't move at all during this time. I want to give you that permission to rest as much as possible, to lean in to what your body needs, to use what you have on hand, both equipment and resources, and not stress yourself out more because movement doesn't look the same as it did before. Make sure that what you are doing, you're doing because your body is calling you to do it and asking you for it. It doesn't need to be another pressure or another burden during this already stressful and often anxiety-provoking time. So give yourself that grace and that compassion and listen to your body so you can provide your body with the best that you can during this time. You have the rest of your life to get fit. This might mean movement during this time. This might mean rest. I can't tell you which one is right for you. This might change day to day. Some days you might need more rest. Some days you might crave more movement. But leaning into what your body needs in that day, taking the pressure off of yourself that exercise or movement needs to look a certain way can be incredibly freeing. And just pay attention to what your body is craving, what your body is needing. Get rid of those shoulds and find what is right for you in this season, remembering that this is just another season in our lives. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Healthy Balance Mama podcast. If you loved it, would you take a screenshot and share it with a friend over on Instagram and tag me in it? It helps me so much to know what you love and are taking away from each episode. If you really loved it, would you hop over to iTunes and give me a star rating and review? Every rating and review helps this podcast be seen and heard by more women who need to hear the message of balance and wellness without deprivation. It's the best free gift you could give me. And as a reminder, the information and opinions on this podcast are meant for education and inspiration only and are not to be taken as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult with a trusted practitioner before making any changes. Have a beautiful day, friend, and I'll see you in the next episode.